Talking Shirts is presented in partnership with White Oak Cottage. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Hello, and welcome to episode number 120 of Talking Shirts. I'm Mike from Whole Car Shirts, and today we're going to take a look at this 2020 home shirt, one that would have been worn by Mose Masoe during the Betfred Super League season of 2020, if it wasn't for his horrific injury at Wakefield. So, we'll talk a little bit about the shirt, and then in the second part, we'll get quite deep into into Mose and sort of what happened and just sort of things that maybe could have been a little bit different. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the shirt. So this one here is a 2020 home shirt, and it was kind of a dedication to 1980, 40 years on. It was designed in a very sort of similar fashion. All white front with the broad red band going through the middle of the shirt there. It did feature the Druin Company as a front of shirt sponsor. Not exactly the most glamorous of sponsors to have on the front of a shirt. However, it is what it is. It's been applied in white in the red band. It's inoffensive in terms of its size and its aesthetics. When you compare it to the gel for wear shirt from that year and that sponsorship being so big, you kind of get away with this one. If they'd have allowed it to be stacked, it might have looked better. The Druin Company might have just sort of fit into the space a little bit better. Obviously, it is quite wide in terms of the band there. And on this shirt, it does probably look a little bit bigger than it might have done on most shirts, because with this being a plain shirt that was issued to Mose, it is actually a 3XL plain shirt, which is quite big in terms of its size and the fabric span that's used to create it. We've got IRS, Hull Cottage Group, Oxen, the Hull Car Club crest that have also been dye sublimated into the shirt. 2020 was probably the easiest year to get hold of a playing shirt out of all of the years that I've been collecting shirts. The reason for this is because there was a printing error with the home kits. So the club crest and the word Oxen is more orange than it is red. Most people can't actually tell until they're made aware of it. But if you put two of these kits together, which I'll pop some pictures up, where you've got one of the first batch and one of the second batch, when you put those together, you can kind of see the differences. There is also a couple of other sort of printing errors on this shirt, which meant that the shirt had to be remanufactured, which then meant that we had a playing group of what I believe finished at about 35, 36 players or something like that. When you think that each of those, say, had two shirts or two home shirts, then you have batch one and batch two. That then doubles it. So then there's likely to be four of each player. You can see how these numbers of shirts are going to kind of bulk up in time. Naturally, that's why it's easier to get hold of. I don't know if you can make it out past the mannequin, but I've got 9 of this shirt, I believe. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 9 of this sort of style of shirt. So many of them are in the faulty batch style where the colour's wrong, and so many of them are in the new style. But then I've also got some with Challenge Cup competition patches on, because some of them had became available with the competition patch on for the Challenge Cup. So that kind of makes it quite interesting as well. If I just grab these off the rail here, you can kind of see we've got Super League, Super League, Challenge Cup, Super League, back to Super League, and then more Super League. But yeah, we've got some with the incorrect printing on in terms of their the colours, and then also some where they're actually in the right thing as well. And when you look at the players that are here, Abdul, Teddy Dowell, Minikin, Brian Briley, Matty Staunton, Ethan Ryan, Wella Haraki, Ben Crooks, Mose Masoe. It's an incredible lineup. In terms of quality of player as well. Everybody on that list did offer something, quite important to the club during that 2020 season and even beyond as well. So it's made it quite hard for me to kind of shift a couple of those on, even though I have tried. I think everybody that wants one of these has probably got one now, due to the amount of them that have been sort of readily available since 2020 and obviously up to now. So as we take a look at the first sleeve here, we'll see that we've got the RSV sponsor, and then we've got the Bad Rhino. Bad Rhino, heat applied. This was a Super League competition sponsor that did feature on quite a lot of different club shirts during that 2020 season. Above that, we've got the RSV sponsor that has been dye sublimated in, and then we have got these two sort of red stripes that feature down the sleeve. Now, this is probably a slight take on what the Adidas 3 stripes was, but naturally that's not something that you can get away with due to copyright and branding guidelines. So yeah, we did have to go with just the twin stripes going down the sleeve there, rather than it being the usual 3 that you would become accustomed with the shirt that this one was paying tribute to back in 1979, 1980. And the other side, we've got the same design elements going on here as well. We've got the Betfred Super League competition patch. Again, this has been heat applied. There's only one on there because sadly it was never used. And then above, we've got the Easy Buy branding. This is another one of the errors on the shirt. The colour in the Easy Buy logo, the way that it has been applied with it around it, it's not quite the right Pantone colour. Therefore, from a sponsorship perspective, these had to be remade as well. But again, 4 years later, this is kind of a kit quirk, something that is quite sort of unique in the sense of it actually going to print and it being sort of manufactured. It does form quite a nice uniquity in terms of my collection. So yeah, before we go to the back of the shirt and have a talk about Masoe, here is a quick word from our sponsor.
White Oak Cottage is a 2-bedroom luxury holiday cottage set in the stunning Lincolnshire Wolds. It has 2 ensuite bedrooms, a hot tub, wood burner, Wi-Fi, electric vehicle charger, and is pet friendly. It is ideally situated in the Wolds, yet only 15 miles from the coast and 25 miles from the historic city of Lincoln. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Welcome back to part 2 of episode number 120 of Talking Shirts. Before the break, we were talking our way around this 2020 home shirt that was issued to Mose Masoe for that 2020 season. The back of the shirt here provides us with another sort of colouring error. This NEC logo, it wasn't bright enough. It's more pink on here. The natural one was actually quite purple. Again, I'll pop a picture up so you can see the comparison between the correct print and the incorrect print there. Below that, we've got the Aspire Academy sponsor, also dye sublimated in, and then we've got Higher Base, which has been dye sublimated into the bottom there in its usual position that we've become quite accustomed to seeing it appearing now. On the back of here, we have got Masoe and the number 10. That has been heat applied. This sort of name and number set was fresh for 2020. It was the set that we actually used for a few years after this one, before the 2024 one. You know my opinions on that, don't need to get started. But yeah, this is it's a really sort of nice name and number set. It's clear to read. It looks effective on the back of a shirt as well. The right size letters. This one was used with a block, so again, everything spaced out quite well. The number's not quite central, but it's not a million miles off. So again, it's one that we'll kind of get away with. And then we've got the Super League sort of emblem that features in the squad numbers there. So yeah, Masoe. He played 3 seasons at Hull KR, 2017, 2018, 2019, before what was a horrific career-ending injury on the 12th of January 2020 at the Mobile Rocket Stadium in Wakefield. I think it took everybody sort of by surprise how sort of serious it was. From even just watching the video back, it just looks so innocuous. But obviously it's left Masoe with sort of life-changing disabilities, which has obviously changed his life now, obviously for the rest of his life. He's made great strides. He's had incredible support from his family and the rugby league community. Everybody really did get around him in terms of sort of sponsorship and support, love and care. The rugby league community, as it did with Rob Burrow, really did kind of show how sort of a tight-knit community we are, even though we all have our loyalties and our sort of religion, shall we say, with our own clubs. How everybody can come together in times of need was really sort of telling with everything that happened with Masoe during that early stages of 2020. Obviously, it was made much harder by the fact that Mossy had obviously occurred this injury right ahead of what was going to be the COVID pandemic. You know, that will have made things so much harder as well, as he's trying to go through everything. But you know, I can sort of vividly remember where I was when it happened. I wasn't at the Mobile Rocket Stadium. I was on my way to watch a NXT UK wrestling show in Blackpool with some friends, and I can remember sort of like refreshing my phone, like what's going on, what's happened. You know, really wanting just to kind of make sure that, you know, the big man was okay. You know, it's kind of a memory that will kind of stick with me forever. Shortly after that, there was a couple more shows that I did attend, wrestling shows, and I wore one of my player issue shirts with Mossy's name on the back of it. For those shows, tried to get it on TV, tried to show support for Mossy, to show that, you know, that everyone was kind of thinking about him, and that, you know, he was sort of had lots of positive thoughts around him. Shortly after that, the Mose Masoe Foundation was set up. You know, that was to kind of support Mossy with, you know, with his injury, and sort of financially how that was going to sort of see him, you know, moving forward. You know, he'd been given the squad number 10 for the for the third year. He'd had that for 2018-19 and obviously into 2020. When he made his debut, it was partway through that 2017 promotion campaign, so he did get quite a high squad number, but he came in with, you know, big expectations after a stint with St Helens, and he was somebody who every time he pulled on that Hulk AR shirt, you know, you really kind of, you know, wanted to egg him on. He was such a character, had such a beaming smile, such a, you know, really nice guy. He still does. You know, it's great to kind of see on social media how, you know, back home in the Southern Hemisphere, he's kind of like, you know, keeping up to date with things. And also for us to see how, you know, his progress is tracking, you know, making sure that, you know, he's keeping one eye on Hulk AR as well, because he certainly isn't going to forget about the club, and the club also isn't going to forget about him. You know, Mossy made 59 appearances for Hulk AR during that spell. Technically, it covered 3 seasons, but it was kind of 2.5 really. You know, he scored 6 tries in that time as well. Talking of the Mose Masoe Foundation, one of the events that went on was kind of a, you know, a black tie event. They actually auctioned off the playing kit that Mossy wore on the day that he got his injury. Something that might be classed as being quite morbid. It was something that I was never going to be in a position to be able to try and buy, purely because of the amount of money that it would have gone for. Would have probably have bought a third of my collection, a quarter of my collection. You know, when you've got as many shirts as I have to be selective of what I buy and how much I pay, just because of the sheer volume. But a gentleman who a lot of people who are active on social media called Steve Till, I'm sure you'll be aware of Steve. He's a, you know, lifelong Robin, really nice guy. Had quite a few interactions with him online. He bought that shirt and he's got it framed up in his office. And I just feel like it's you know, it's such a piece of club history, something that even that has a negative connotation attached to it, it's still a piece of memorabilia that tells an incredibly sad story about a young man, his playing career, and Hulk AR. But yeah, I'll pop a picture up so you can see that we've got it up in that Steve's got it up in his office. You know, I can remember him sending me this and just thinking, wow, you know, you've done such a good thing to be able to financially support Mossy, but also to kind of like hold on to a piece of what, as I've said, is a sad piece, but a piece of club history. So yeah, that's everything for episode 120. As I've said, you know, Mossy was going to be a co-captain for the 2020 season, and he still was. You know, he was our co-captain. He did a lot off the field for the boys. He was around as much as he could be. You know, whilst he was making his own sort of, you know, personal sacrifices and commitments to sort of trying to get back walking and, you know, get his mobility back and just try and enjoy, you know, the best years of his life that hopefully still sort of long ahead of him. But yeah, that's been everything for episode number 120. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon. Bye for now.